That's not good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
What's the rules as far as what can you do?
Try not to
No
interrupt.
biting, no scratching, no pinching.
I never said
Whips and chains are also an acceptable form of punishment.
that. If somebody's talking, try not to interrupt a full thought.
Mm-hmm.
Bitches, you're wrong!
Unless it's, absolutely.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Don't come near me. Hello and welcome to the forum. I am the Jester. Here with me I have a flying moblin, Ray the Sugar Ray Richards.
Hello.
I have a common cold 88, and I have Neko Meme. Alright, so I had this idea several years ago. I was watching a critic online, and he was reviewing something that I liked. And he said that it wasn't good, that it was stupid, and anybody who liked it thought it should be stupid. And I got into an argument with my roommate, David, about the movie Troy, and how I didn't like it and how he did. And a thought occurred to me. Why does something have to be good or bad? Why do you have to agree with a critic? Why do you have to instantly follow their opinion and you're stupid if you don't? The idea of this show is to just discuss things like rational cinephiles that we are, and we can discuss movies, games, comic books, TV shows, anything. You name it, we can discuss it here. And in the end, we discuss it and we decide. And in the end, you decide whether it's good or bad. Today,
Why do they have to be right? Why do they have to be right?
Because they have an opinion, Ray. It's gonna be one of those shows.
Wait, who's right?
I'm right.
You're right?
Artist
Why are you
objective.
right? Who's right?
Because you're left. Right.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so today we are talking about Avatar, The Last Airbender, a cartoon show that appeared on Nickelodeon and that we have all watched.
I think it's pronounced Avatar.
Gonna be a lot of face slapping.
Gotta stop it.
So, it's the show about the Last Airbender, the one who's supposed to bring peace and harmony to the world, and he joins some friends along the way, and he saves the world, and he can bend the elements to his will. If you really don't know about it yet, don't ask me. I will be talking about it. We'll edit
If
that
they
part
haven't
out.
seen it, you could just open up another tab, Google, Wikipedia, Avatar: The Last Airbender, but don't hit.
Press the plus sign.
What if they're not using
Avatar, Last Airbender, enter.
So the person just watching this is probably actually just listening to it. They haven't minimized while they're playing StarCraft.
Or Blood Bowl. Okay. So first off, how did we all hear about the series? And we can start with Moblin.
Originally, my first series, I guess, my episode I saw was I was actually house sitting for a family, being paid for it, which was cool. I had seen an episode just randomly, and it was the episode where Sokka and the Ice Princess from the Northern Water Tribe, he's trying to get with her, and he's like, trying to woo her with all of his things, because we all know Sokka. He doesn't know how to woo.
Sokka's my favorite character.
He doesn't know how to woo anything. He just starts throwing things at it, and then hopefully it comes back.
Oh.
But,
Oh.
and you got it.
I
You
caught
got
it. I caught the boomerang joke.
Well, I mean, also the goodbye space sword.
Yeah.
But basically, like, I saw that episode, and when I first saw it, that's all I saw was guy and dude trying to get together. And so when I first saw it, I was like, oh, here goes. Another Disney creation, another crappy cartoon about high school students. That's what I saw. And then it was on Netflix, and this is a couple years after, and I decided, well, I'll give it a shot, and I never looked back after the first episode.
Sugar Ray, how did you hear? Ray, how did you hear about the show?
Sugar Ray.
Sugar Ray.
Sugar.
Give me some sugar.
So, I saw it last year. I came really late to the show, And I watched it because several people recommended it, and I like to ignore people forever. And then it finally came on Netflix. And what really made me watch it was I was listening to Hey Ash, What's Your Podcast? And they were talking about it, giving a show summary, so I had to watch it before they gave the spoiler so I could finish my podcast. So in 3 days, I watched the entire series.
That's a really long time to wait for a podcast.
Well, I had a show to watch. And I caught up to them in season 2 and then listened to where they were.
Wow.
Common Cold, how did you hear about the show?
As I recall, I went over to a friend's house when I was in high school, and it happened to be on TV. And at the time, I was rather unimpressed, but that's how I approach most things, so go figure.
So cynical.
And so, I mean, I didn't really give it a chance. I didn't really give it a good watch until actually, I think it might have also been last year. Yeah, it was. Yeah, last year we broke down, and Melissa and I actually watched it together, and it was pretty great.
I don't remember the exact year I watched it, but I know it was fairly recent. It was within the last 2 to 3 years, probably. I remember I watched it on Netflix, and I don't even remember how I heard about it. I think it was just on TV, and who's back? It's Paul. Hi, Paul. And I remember it was just on TV, and I never paid it any mind. I was watching Naruto at the time.
There's a camera behind the door.
And I was just watching Naruto at the time, and we can edit this out. Come on.
Have you seen the last Avatar? Or have you seen
Did a
Avatar?
magical Paul come in and
The
magically...
TV show? Or
Yeah.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Some of it.
Okay.
That's what we're talking
that,
about.
yeah. You want to put on a suit and be Slender Man for a couple of shots?
No.
How's your family, Paul?
Good.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys finish.
All right.
You're not invited.
See you in an hour.
Okay, and
Okay,
Go.
so I found out about it on. I just found out about it through the regular channels. Like, I think I was watching like Invader Zim one day, and a commercial was on for it, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna watch it halfway through the series. And thank goodness for Netflix, because I finally did hear a recommendation for it, and I finally did see it, because I just thought it was gonna be a Naruto clone. Because I was watching Naruto at the time and catching up with that. But it turned out to be, I mean, really good. Like, the character development and the storyline were all really compelling once you got into it. But I was like you, I was pretty unimpressed by it, just from the first couple episodes. There was very little keeping me going. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was just the battle scenes. Specifically when Aang first fights Zuko on his ship, and he gets a hold of his staff and just beats him with a mattress.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, you got me for an hour. Why not just continue? And I'm glad I did continue, because it really did get good.
yeah, I did.
And so, you want to weigh in? Neko Mimi, how did you hear about the show?
Well, when it first came out, I was watching it, like, I saw it on TV, but, at the time, I was really bored by all of the Earth, Wind, and Fire themes in children's shows, so I was just like, Pokemon's better.
Pokemon.
70s bands getting into shows just isn't right.
Yeah, no.
Yep, so I was just like, I don't want to watch this. This is for boys.
It's for babies.
Yep. So I never watched it at all. I would always change the channel.
So then you watched it the same time as me for the first time? And we watched it together?
Yep.
Cool.
So this is going on the anniversary video that we put on, but Night, come on.
If this does fall at all. Okay, so now we had first impressions of the show. Now let's hear overall impressions of the show. What did you think of the show when you watched it? What did you, I mean, at different points, when did you love it, when did you hate it? And we'll start again with Flying Moblin.
In terms of loving it, I thought the series was great. I thought it was fresh, new, not in terms of necessarily like the story idea, but how they portrayed the story and how the characters developed. One of my biggest positives towards the story was the fact that it was a lot of character development focused solely on these main characters. Aang in particular,
I love Aang. He's my favorite.
He is amazing.
Aang.
You follow him, and as his character develops, he goes from an irresponsible kid who doesn't want to be the Avatar, who doesn't want to follow the responsibilities that he's given, but he has to. And everything in the world is pushing him to do what is right, and that's to be the Avatar and to stop the Fire Nation. And
I believe everything in the world is trying to kill him.
well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, when most of the world's owned by the Fire Nation, it's kind of hard to, you know. But I mean, that's one of the greatest parts of the series was the actual character development, because we go from that kid to a person who has decided and is going towards their ultimate goal of, you know, saving the world. In terms of what I didn't like, there were a couple of things that I disliked, mainly in regards to just some minor storyline flaws, I guess. You guys remember the Earth Nation? We had a couple of instances in there where characters showed up and then nothing happened with them. There was the thief, I can't remember his name. He was in the forest and...
Oh, right!
And with the twin blades?
Yeah, and then he gets taken, he gets his mind controlled. Jet, yeah, that's right. He gets his mind controlled, and then, like, he just disappears. Like, he has the Avatar and them on the ropes, and then all of a sudden he just freaks out, and then he just disappears. And there's just this cutoff of...
He may have died.
He may have
Well,
died.
he shows up again later in the series.
Where does he show up?
I don't remember exactly when. Isn't it?
He shows up in the Earth Kingdom, and that's the last we see of him, because I remember the last moment we see him, it's like...
Yeah, he shows up again because,
I think you're thinking...
Katara is extremely distrustful of him the second time he shows up after what happened the first time.
Well, the first time they were going through the forest,
Yeah.
and they met the band of thieves, and she's, like, swooning
Katara's
all
kind of like
over
having
him.
a crush on
Yeah.
him and that sort of thing. And then, you know, after all that took place, he did show up for like way long time in the series. I mean, like he showed up like a season after that.
Yeah, it was at the end of book 2 in the Earth Nation.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up in Ba Sing Se.
Yep.
And he was brainwashed. There is no war. And then he attacks them, but then he regains his senses, attacks the guy who brainwashed him. He's wounded, and he says, "I'll be fine." And like Toph can tell if people's lying. She's like, "He's lying," and then they leave.
Yeah.
So he may have died, or he may.
Yeah,
not
like
have.
there wasn't a whole lot that I thought was really wrong with the series. There were just little inconsistencies with the storyline that I don't necessarily think was their fault some of the time. I mean, we had
Like Zuko's mother!
like Zuko's
mother!
which, by the way, Nickelodeon, you guys are morons for not doing that story.
For those of you who don't know, there's this whole subplot with one of the characters' mother, who she left one day and she never came back, and then Nickelodeon actually signed them on, or I don't know if they signed them on, but they pitched Nickelodeon.
It was 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, and at the end of 3 years, they just, oh, you're done.
Yeah, and they were gonna finish that storyline with Zuko's mother, but then they never ended up doing it, which is why, I mean, in Katara, at the beginning of Legend of Korra, like, Katara is still there. She's like 90 million years old. And her grandkids come up to her and she's like, "What happened with Zuko's mother?" And she says, "That's a very interesting story." And then she's cut off by one of the more annoying characters.
By the loud daughter.
Yes.
Oh, presents!
That reference
Shiny
to Nickelodeon.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of a very subtle wink to the audience.
Oh,
so
the
those
days
who-
that Nickelodeon had a barbershop quartet out front and they were slow-paced and thought about characters. Oh. No consistency of Rocco's modern life.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
Once your house is on pipe, it's always on pipes.
But yeah, like
But yeah.
to summarize, you know, what I was saying, like, you know, they had Iroh, the guy who voiced Iroh.
Wait, if you summarize what you said, we will just use the summary.
That's not true.
Why?
Because I'm evil.
Okay, fine.
Well, you're not
I won't
editing.
summarize. I will elaborate. But in terms of like the little inconsistencies, some of them weren't their fault. The voice of Iroh died, and so they had that whole section where he spoke nothing whatsoever. Like he just worked out and became uber buff, and then crushed a lot of
Speaking of
people.
which, I really would have liked to see where it would have gone if Iroh had lived. What they would have had him say and do.
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah,
The voice actor died?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mako died between books 2 and 3 of esophageal
I
cancer.
didn't notice.
That's where he started. They had to change the story itself, where he like worked out to get out of jail.
But then he talks after that, though.
Yes, but it's
he
a
only
different
says
voice.
like
It's a
one.
different voice actor, and he doesn't necessarily fit like the voice actor exactly. So they just
I disagree. He fit perfectly. I did not notice.
I did.
Well, the thing is that they actually only put like 1 or 2 lines after
Yeah.
that, and that they kept it to a minimum so you wouldn't be able to.
Hey, you and Boomy attacked the city. Okay.
yeah, and they attacked the city very
Which
well.
is awesome.
I am very awesome.
But that's my pros and cons. It was a great story, great character development, just some slight inconsistencies with the story.
Yeah, I didn't like how. Well, first of all, I have a joke. I like the boobs.
And we're just not gonna say anything.
No, I didn't like.
And cut.
Oh, Brig, what's his name? I forgot. Now you just said it 20 times.
Iroh?
Yeah, I didn't like how Iroh could work out and then he's better at bending. See, I didn't like that how he trained to do push-ups so I can do better fire things.
Fire
I-
breathing
it's
comes from the
supposed-
breath. He is doing aerobic.
Yeah, it's supposed to be all about focus though, and like the breathing, the body, and you should be able to just like do push-ups and then be better. Like, I
Well,
didn't think that was necessary.
yeah.
Unless he was just trying to lose weight, in which case.
Well, I think that's what they were going for. He was
He
trying to
just
get in
lost
shape
weight.
so he could also journey. Because as well as you can fire bend, you can only like jet yourself so far with fire bending.
No, I think this thing he should have been Fat Iroh all the time. Just be like, it was like he's like a Yoda character where he's not like, he doesn't look like a warrior, but he is as powerful as anyone else.
Like the episode where they capture Iroh and he's being led.
Oh, Iroh's my favorite
And he's just
character.
like, all of these are
Helmet sounds
chafing my hands. Can you loosen them a little bit? And then he's like, oh, pow.
No, worse, he even said, my shackles are chafing. Could you tighten them? Flames. Oh, my hands, I'm Earth Nation.
I'm Earth Nation, I'm weak to fire.
That doesn't even make Pokemon sense.
Yes, it does.
Everyone's weak to fire. What?
My Charizard burned so many Geodudes.
Charizard.
While we're
dies to
talking
Blastoise
about it, I'm
every
sorry.
time.
Dude, my Charizard has killed Blastoise bigger than you.
And cut.
There's also, I also had one thing. At first, I did not like the love story because at the time I was really sick of will they, won't they love stories. But then, like about halfway through season 1, I'm like, wait, these kids are freaking 12.
Yeah.
They don't start doing stuff, otherwise their dad will break them up, and we don't want that to happen.
So her dad is away at war, and his dad never existed, I guess?
I don't know, how do airbender babies happen if they're all monks?
Well,
It never
you
says they're
see-
celibate monks.
Well, you see, they're
Hookers.
when a mommy airbender and a daddy airbender love each other very
Yeah,
much.
how many female airbenders did you see in the first series in the flashback?
There's the female avatar.
There's one or two that I
But
can
she
remember.
doesn't start as an airbender.
Yeah, she did. She was a...
Kyoshi.
No,
Really?
and
Was
yeah,
it
she was Earth. Or was she Air?
Kyoshi
I thought
was
she was-
because she had the war fans.
You can't tell
Right.
I thought-
between the males and the females.
I can't remember.
Well, that's because that's what the girls used to fight.
It looks the same,
The
just like
Kyoshi warriors or whatever.
Right, but that's where they came from. It's Kyoshi.
Except for that.
Ah, my brain!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh no!
Like, I can't remember now. This is terrible.
I'm pretty sure Kyoshi was an Earthbender.
Really?
I think,
Okay.
Because I think in Korra she's used for Earth because they go through the.
Oh, that's
Avatars.
right. You're right. Yeah, that's true.
So like Roku is fire and
Yeah.
Korra is water, obviously.
So I can't think of a favorite part of the series. I looked it all up.
Was there any part you didn't like? Any part that
We
didn't?
went through 2 of those.
Okay, fair enough. Sam?
Well, as far as
Cut. Common cold?
Oh, right. I can start with what I dislike because that's always the first thing that came up. And like when I first started watching the series, and I just felt it was, I don't know, cliche in a lot of ways for the first season. For the first several episodes, again, you have it came out in a time, 2005, there were a lot of other shows of that type that I was seeing. You got like Legend of the Seeker, you have Naruto, a whole bunch of other shows that revolve around that hero's growth.
Legend of the Seeker was a will they won't they relation love triangle thing that did not make sense.
And it was that.
You were of age to both of them.
And so, like, I mean, it started out, and I was just like, man, I've seen all of this before. All the elemental stuff. I mean, when I was a teenager, or when I was like a young teenager in junior high, there was still like I was still in the Legos, and you had like Bionicle, and there was Pokemon. So there's all this elemental going stuff, and then so it just struck me as really stale. The first couple episodes too, I really didn't like the comedy. I thought the comedy was kind of boring, not actually entertaining.
Because it wasn't farts.
Yeah, and even the fight scenes at that point, like I wasn't
He
over
agreed to it.
I'm just gonna go ahead and agree to that.
Just agree with Ray.
Huh?
Your hair's like sticking out.
Oh, it always does that.
Okay.
There you go, sweetie.
And so, I mean, like after it kind of got over the first couple episodes, I left it alone for a really long time. I just happened across the first couple episodes at a friend's house, and last year when I started watching it again, I decided I was just going to ignore the fact that I thought the beginning of the show was boring because so many people were talking about it. And it was another one of those things where it's like, you know, it started out kind of subpar, but they really fixed it really quickly, and the characters started developing almost immediately after the first several episodes.
And I'm coming from a position similar to you, where I really do. It really failed to impress me on a lot of levels when it started off. Aang was kind of annoying and kind of dorky. Katara was kind of flat. Sokka wasn't funny at the time. Momo, I didn't even know why he was there. But
So Appa was the best. So Appa was the best character on the scene.
the giant sky.
Oh, I love Appa! Oh, he's my favorite! Oh, Appa!
I thought Iroh was your favorite.
He also but
no, what was the Mako thing? I don't remember that. I remember that now you say it, but it was so non-sequential to me. The little squirrel thing with the...
Oh, Momo.
I barely remember Momo.
He didn't do much except when Aang got high off cactus juice, which was hilarious when he had a samurai showdown.
Yeah.
No, but I mean...
How long were there ferrets too?
No. Fire ferrets only showed up in Korra.
Yep.
No.
I think
weren't they in the Water Nation? Did they hang out with
No, I think there's the episode where they have the Firebender Festival, and I think they had some fire ferrets.
Oh, okay. Maybe they did.
Like, doing acrobatic stuff, if I remember right. Or I could just be thinking of Korra. And
Well, it all kind of...
yeah, I haven't watched the series in a year, so...
Well, I mean, I do remember the series was very stale starting off, but that fight scene with the mattress where he's just like they're in this whole fight and he's just like staying behind him, and then he gets a hold of his staff and he's just like, mattress, I win, and then he just leaves. And I was like, okay, I like how these fight scenes are going. I didn't like the animation style, but I liked how the fights were animated, and so I did stick with it. And I was really greatly rewarded because, like you said, the character started developing instantly. I loved Sokka by the end. I didn't really get attached to Momo, but I kind of just don't care. It's not like I dislike him.
I was going to say, I'm not sure what exactly you could like or dislike about a mute animal.
Yeah.
It's like
you've got
he's
Appa,
adorable.
but, yeah.
It's like a bow that the characters just had around.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was good for someone. He was there for Appa to play off of. He was the other animal.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd be like, oh, they're gonna go fool around. We're just gonna eat food.
And I mean, parts of the series I liked and didn't like. Like I said, I didn't like Sokka at first. He was not funny enough to keep me interested in him.
And he came off as really annoying and whiny. Like it was kind of like a minor character, Anakin, who tried to be funny and wasn't.
Exactly, and his hair was weird. I thought at the time.
Yeah, jeez, what was up with that?
I got over it, but I mean.
And they really played on that too in the episode where they have the like play and they go through the entire story again. And
the Ember Island players.
The
I
Ember
love
Island
that
players.
episode.
Like how like Sokka starts out and he's just like jokes everywhere and they're
Good,
so
and the joke
terrible.
is, I'm starving, and nobody's laughing at it.
Yeah.
And he gives him pointers on jokes.
And then he becomes funny after he gives them the pointers. Like,
Flying kickabow!
and then people think he's hilarious. I mean, I kind of think like episodes like that, like, and they have a couple of them.
I think that's what really happened. See, in the
Yeah.
beginning of the series, it was just people hearing about him, and then Sako came to the studio where they were animating, and like, no, you gotta do these jokes here, and that's actually what happened. So it's.
I don't know.
fun.
It might be.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
you might actually be right about that. 'Cause
Sokka
they were
came.
definitely summarizing the entire series with that, and like, hey, you can kind of follow about how it changed.
And then they had the beach episode.
Actually, I have a love-hate relationship with that episode because
Because I love the bikinis and I hate everything. What?
no, it's because I love watching Azula, Zuko's sister, just try to interact with normal people and fail hardcore.
Actually,
you will
I'm
date
tired.
me, and we will be the most
the strongest couple at the party. And like when she plays volleyball, and she's like, "You will never rise from the ashes of this defeat." It's like the net is on fire, and she's like, "Well, that was fun."
Actually, that's why I love the beach episode. Was two of them where it's them plus at normal teenagers. There's the Fire Nation school. And then there's the beach episode. Was there a third one, or that's just the
Oh
two?
well, I think there's one. I'm trying to think where the kids were, where the main characters were just kids, and I forget when it happened.
Well, it's a lot of like the first series when they're just hanging out.
Well, I mean, but
And
that's
then they
actually
had blind jokes. That's crazy.
that's actually kind of why I hated it though. Is just because this is an entirely new universe. Kids are raised differently. For example, let's take Azula. Yes, it was hilarious to try and watch her interact with normal teenagers, but there are no normal teenagers because Azula was born and raised to be a warrior and a general and the best firebender, well, second best after the Ozai, after her father.
Yeah.
But like the best in the nation. And she's just like this child prodigy. And so she really doesn't fit with teenagers going to parties after high school with our world. And that's kind of why I didn't like that episode. I mean, it was hilarious and I enjoy it, but it kind of brought me out of it because, I mean, yes, they're 12 and 16-year-olds, but in a completely different universe.
And then you turn around like 3 episodes down the road or whatever, and it starts getting into the final few episodes of the series, and she like
Exactly.
loses her mind and stuff, and like there's a bit of inconsistency there.
And that's the inconsistencies you were
Yeah,
talking about.
I mean,
but-
it's
And
not.
then her mother's ghost.
Yeah, it's not like they were big things. Like, you could ignore those episodes altogether. Even though they're great episodes.
Mhm.
Like, I think those episodes were more like, this is what, you know, a normal thing could have been for them. And I think that some of the episodes themselves actually brought a lot. I think that they kind of tried to bring the characters to a level where, you know, teens today could accept them. I don't know why, because it's a fantasy universe, and you'd really want to stick to that.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is I love it. Like that's part of why I got into anime so hardcore. Is I love it when an entire universe. A lot of Western things like change one thing. Like this kid can. Like let's take Generator Rex. It's the normal world, but this kid can transform half into a robot. Or Ben 10. It's the regular world, but there are aliens that people are trying to keep under wraps, and this kid can transform into aliens, and he's a superhero. But then you take Naruto, where the entire world is based around ninjas being able to bend elements to their will.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love being able to take an entire universe and like, okay, what if this is different? Let's take this to the extreme. And
The rare parts are where you get it and they seem relatable on a
exactly.
normal level.
And then you put them in our world, and that just takes me out of that, and it makes me feel disconnected. What were you gonna say?
I'm not familiar with any of your examples.
Well, I mean, and then, but I mean,
How can you relate it to Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
It'd be,
Okay,
I'm
when
not
he
being
goes.
serious. Stop it.
No, and then I mean, I'm trying to go through the parts I don't like because I really do love this
You know what I really
series.
didn't like? Why they hid Fire Lord Ozai's face for the first season. There's no reason to.
And then
There's
you
no
see
You
like,
can't know it's Mark Hamill's voice actor.
You know what? He looks like another guy.
Yeah,
He just looks like a guy.
You were gonna see some sort of like deformity or something.
He didn't reveal like, oh, he's a shark. Oh,
It's
and he's
Davy
the
Jones.
clone of the Avatar.
Davy
He's
Jones.
Aang from the future! There's none of that!
He's
Ooh,
actually
no, hold on!
That would
The
be
entire
nice.
time, Fire Doors, I should have been Aang from the future. Rewrite everything! Avatar sucks compared to this idea.
They sent Aang back from the future to stop the Aang from the past, so that
And conquer the world
As a
united for
Terminator.
China!
have a Terminator Looper.
Abu.
Oh no!
Ab Looper.
I mean, I
That's my
really.
new exercise bike.
Ab Looper. Ah!
That's terrible.
No, but I really did start to fall in love with the series when in the first season.
Oh, I love this series.
When Zuko, when we get Zuko's backstory specifically, and when he becomes, I mean, he starts off just, I must find the Avatar at all costs, and I'm like, that's boring. But then, like, it goes through the whole, his dad ostracized him because his dad's a jerk, and this
yeah.
is the only way he can be integrated back into his family and society.
And then it gets what he wants. That was the coolest part about it. It was like a reality check for reality in a cartoon. He gets what he wants, and then he doesn't like it when he gets it.
Spoiler
Yeah.
alert, Aang dies, kind of.
Yeah,
It's not really a spoiler alert.
Like, that was a really good part in the series, too, because Aang had just hit Avatar state, being able to kind of control it. He hadn't mastered it, but he could control it. And so he's like, Avatar state, go, gonna wipe the floor, and then Azula's like, lightning bolt to chest.
Ah, Angelica from Rugrats will kill you now. No.
Oh, yeah, that's right, she is voicing.
It's crazy, right?
Are you okay there?
Gonna die?
Yes.
Do you need more booze?
The rum went down.
No, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
My lungs aren't very tolerant of liquid
Okay.
in general.
Boring.
Well, liquid doesn't necessarily need to go in your lungs.
I love
Water
how,
bend it out.
I love how we got a close up on the second camera of Sam dying.
In case we need to know. This is what Sam looks like when he's dying.
You can put it in slow motion, mate.
Ooh, yeah, and then like rock music.
Oh, and Photoshop a dick in there.
You had me until then.
It's not a mouth-based
No.
video game.
It's not a mouth-based video game.
Okay, so, but I mean, now parts I loved about this series, the part I think I loved most, besides the story and the character development, which everyone loved, was the fact that technology didn't stay stagnant at all. I mean, you see that in a lot of fantasy universes. Oh, Merlin has magic. They don't need to advance to guns or anything.
Oh, Zelda, for some reason we have like trains all of a sudden, but everything else is swords and shields.
Exactly.
Dead.
But, I mean, when they go to the Western Air Temple, the Air Temple that's taken over by the inventor and his kid in the gliding wheelchair.
yeah.
I forget which direction temple that was.
I think it was the Eastern,
The Eastern Air Temple?
because I think in the map Western is where the Fire Nation is,
Right.
and they go over there because they're going to, and then Zuko's chasing them.
Right.
I think.
I
I
don't
could be
know.
wrong. Like I said, I haven't watched it in a year. So.
Well, either way, it's one of the air temples that regular people have taken over, and there's an inventor there, and he comes up with the hot air balloon, and he's also using gasoline to fuel stuff, and they don't just gloss over that. That's not just a little haha, look at our technology in this world. Like, the Fire Nation actually takes the balloons after that and makes them like war balloons, and Zeppelins become a huge deal by the time of Korra. And speaking of Korra, by the time we get to Korra, technology has advanced so much that we have cars, Sato-mobiles,
we have airplanes,
And they have,
battleships.
they still
And
have
my
their
cabbage
air
corp!
and they my cabbage corp. No, but I mean, just the technology doesn't stay stagnant. That's probably my favorite part. That's unique to me, is the fact that, I mean, even in Naruto, nothing really changes. They just get more powerful. Dragon Ball Z. Oh,
They built a bridge.
the
Naruto.
Naruto break. Sounds great. No, but I mean, it's great to see that, and to see, again, it's that whole immersion within a world. This is different, but that's not all that's different, and technology still evolves, and war still changes. They have that giant train.
No.
with Xbox
War
and
never
stuff.
changes.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so next topic. Let's talk about the characters. What characters did you love? What characters did you hate? We kind of glossed over this a little bit.
We haven't talked enough about Toph yet. Toph is amazing.
Okay, but let's-
She's my favorite character.
Now that you have that,
How do they get so many blind jokes? I did not know there were blind jokes. Like, oh, there it is what I'd say if I could see.
Yeah, I mean,
Toph is incredible.
okay, Ray, do you want to start us off?
Metal bending.
Oh my god.
She's like the best bender in the show.
Yes.
Like, if anyone could like sit in a cell and do crunches for no reason and be better at bending, it would be Toph.
it's true. She's probably one of my favorite characters of all time in the series. I don't think that there's a character that I like more than Toph. Mostly just because, well, first off, the blind jokes. The blind jokes are hilarious.
How do they get blind jokes? I was not aware of how many blind jokes you could have.
But I mean, the one scene that sets the tone for Toph is when they in the first time they meet her, when they go down to like the
Giant
arena,
Badger.
the arena.
The boulder.
Conflicted
about fighting a small child.
And then she insults him, and she's just out.
I didn't think they'd have to see two little girls fight. The boulder is no longer conflicted.
That fact that they brought in
Boulder is my favorite character.
the fact that they brought in
like
professional wrestling into a kids show and then made it into this it's dangerous. I mean, they're shooting boulders at each other, rocks as big as your head, and they're just punching them at each
Well, it's
other.
proportionate because people can't bend in reality. So when you punch someone, you can block them, but when you punch with a boulder, you can block
Right.
with your face.
But I mean, that fact of her character is exactly it's fantastic. The episode where she gets captured and she's in the metal box. They're like, oh, you can't get out because you're an earthbender. And then she realizes, well, wait, iron's an ore and it's originally from the earth. Maybe I can bend it. And that fact of process that she's like, huh, maybe this will work. I don't know many kids shows that have characters that actually think. Most of the time it's oh, we saved you. No, she actually physically was thinking out a plan to escape, and then she realized, oh hey, this works. And then the best line ever, I can metal bend? I'm the greatest bender in the world.
She is the greatest bender in the world.
Another character that is really, really good is Zuko.
Oh, I love Zuko. Have I said that yet? He's my favorite character.
Because with
Next
Zuko,
to Alpha and Iroh.
yeah,
And
Sokka.
we'll get to it.
Oh, Sokka. You did say Sokka?
yeah.
What haven't I said? I should keep
You haven't said Katara, you haven't said Aang.
Those are real things.
With Zuko, I mean, you start out like you said, with a character that's very one-dimensional. I must find the Avatar. I must basically sacrifice him to my father to save my own pride and my own honor. And you're like, well, this is kind of sucky. But then, when they start building on his character and you really see who he is, you find out he's really a depressing character.
He's a fantastic character.
You have a character whose entire basis of life has been, I have to kill someone so that my dad will love me. I mean, that's really dark.
I'd kill someone so Mark Hamill loves me.
Touche.
Yeah, I mean, if Mark Hamill said kill this guy,
Mark Hamill, love me.
but I mean, once again,
Thanks,
I think,
Bethany.
Mark Hamill and Bethany.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Josh.
She's dying back there of tiredness.
No, I'm just saying, the way, once again, that plays on the fact of what the series did, and that was character development. And they go from Zuko being a very one-dimensional character to then seeing what his entire emotion and his entire basis of life has been, and then you see his change because after he kills Aang, and he gains back his honor, you have this huge part where Zuko is now in turmoil because he has what he wants, but
He's not happy.
yeah, he's not happy with
He's
it.
not happy.
I mean, why would you be happy? You just killed, a person.
You just killed my favorite character.
Yeah, and the person you were trying to please the whole time was one jerk.
Yeah, and even after he kills him, his dad's still meh. You're not as good as what's her face over there.
You know what's really funny? It kind of takes place with Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn's always trying to please the Joker as Mark Hamill, and never able to because the Joker's full of himself.
Wow.
Mind blown.
I was gonna say, if you were
Anyway.
in France and you were playing, well, yeah, I read an article.
What if you two talk about a character?
Oh, sorry. Who, me?
What
You're
if you
next.
two?
Oh, gosh. Oh, I mean, Zuko, actually, it's a
We were
toss-up
talking about
between
Zuko, next character.
and Aang.
Yeah, he's my favorite character.
I mean, I love how he starts out and like you can see the like its personal turmoil. I mean, similar, I suppose, in the vein of Zuko, but instead of like originating from someone else, it's just the fact that like he doesn't want to grow up. He does not want to face the fact that he has to be the Avatar, and he's the only one that can be the Avatar, and so he spends like the first season practically just trying to avoid the fact that he has to do it. And then you have another season where he spends the whole time owning up to the fact that he has to be, and then not until the very last episode, really, does he finally give in and say, okay,
Which is
I have to be the Avatar, and I have to kill people.
Which reminds me.
Well, he doesn't have to kill people.
No, he doesn't.
He didn't have to kill anyone.
No.
He doesn't. I'm the Avatar. I'm the one person who gets to not kill people.
Okay, that was actually my one glaring problem with this series.
That he didn't
Is
kill people.
that I didn't like the cop-out. Like, I really felt that the giant turtle thing was a cop-out, where it's like, oh, now I'm just going to show you how
No,
to
I
avoid
think the
bending.
giant turtle thing is how you earn that sort of thing. That's how that happens. Like,
By throwing in
Man.
the giant Deus Ex Machina?
I want, like, Doctor Who, talking about cop-out endings. There are several seasons that end with the Doctor wins because of the power of wishing. It's because the entire world wished that the Doctor would win, so the Doctor wins. Like,
Because the human race is
I
powerful.
think it better when they
Fine.
use the softest butter science in the world to say this is how Doctor Who wins. Or he did something clever, so he wins as the best. But then there's the power of wishing, and the Doctor wins through the power of wishing, and I hate that kind of ending.
You never really.
No, but the Doctor never wins because of a giant turtle that created the world,
Maybe.
according to the mythos of such.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I did hear some of the mythos stuff, that there was some of the greater beings that created the world, and one of them was...
I mean, I would have gone, but the turtle beat me in rock, paper, scissors.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, "Hey, what up, buddy?" And
You would have just risen out of the sea and be like, yo,
Yo,
you
yo!
can take my bending.
what up? Put it
Just-
here.
It's just... It's your face on a picture of David Hasselhoff.
No, it's David Hasselhoff's face, that picture of me. And then my face over his face!
Whoa.
it's a faceception.
What I really liked about Aang is that he was a contrast to Korra. Not Korra. He was a contrast. Alfred, give me their names. I don't care now. Katara and
Sokka.
Katara. He was a contrast to Katara and Sokka, because Katara really wanted to grow up and be an airbender, and Sokka really wanted to grow up and be a warrior and a man and like have people depend on him. And there's these two people that are like ambitious, so much so that they run. Well, no, they're invaded, but so much so they go off on their own. And then they meet this guy that just wants to be a kid, and of all of them, he has the most power and most ability to not be like this kid, but he
To save
loves
the
it.
world.
He has the power. He is the most adult of all of them because the world depends on him. But instead, he's like, no, let's stick around for a season. And I'm like, okay.
Right on Penguin.
Air scooter.
Right on, Penguin.
Watch Raptor.
He's not giving us money. I'm not going to tell him much.
Yeah, let's see, we gotta censor out Naruto, we gotta censor out Netflix, we gotta censor out everything that isn't Avatar.
It's for a period. Parody.
Until they pay us.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Okay, so I mean, were you done with characters?
Characters. Actually, it's your turn.
Well, I was gonna say Neko.
Oh gosh.
You don't have to if you
I
don't
don't
have
have
any.
any.
Who haven't we talked
that's
about?
No.
Top to name of the last. Do you know Katara?
Katara?
Yeah, we need to get some Katara love.
Yeah, I really do like Katara, partially because I looked up her voice actress, and it's Anne Veal from Arrested Development, which is like my second favorite TV show of all time. Yeah, George Michael's girlfriend with no face who like eats mayonnaise on an egg. She calls it a mayon egg. A mayon egg.
Ew.
Her? And
Mayonnaise is made from eggs.
I know. I don't know why she deviled eggs mayo. Anyway,
I love
completely different
mayo
series.
eggs.
That's gonna be for another episode because it's awesome.
Now I'm hungry.
But you have like 3 pieces of candy.
A piece of candy.
And there's plenty of peanut butter over there.
Piece of candy.
No, I mean, oh yeah, so Katara, I mean, she really.
Hold up! Did I mention Katara's my favorite character?
No, you did not.
Cause she is.
Mm.
There it is.
It's not. I didn't make it record. Did you make it record? Okay.
I'm good at things
Look
like
at my
this.
arms like this. What? What? Ah!
Oh, yeah.
Ah, my neck.
What?
Oh, my neck.
Okay.
All right.
Another time. All right. So I mean,
You're making faces at your girlfriend.
I know you are.
Which is
She
weird.
She digs me.
What he means by that is he's gonna kill you in your sleep.
Twice.
You know how he said he was gonna kill you last?
I lied. Okay, so I mean, my favorite characters. No, you're not continuing. No.
Continuing what?
What's
going on?
Continuing the video.
Where's my favorite Mountain Dew?
Mountain Dew.
No, so I mean, just continuing with my favorite characters. Of course, you guys mentioned Toph, and I love Toph, so I won't talk any more about her, but I mean, I do love the character development that she has, and that is so subtle that she doesn't even need a Zuko episode where she goes off with Zuko.
That's right. She didn't get a Zuko
No,
episode.
she tried, and he's just like, yeah, that's interesting. And
I remember that.
yeah, it's just like, well,
Oh, man.
everybody else had a Zuko moment. I wanted one too. And I mean, Katara, she does a great job. I mean, she's kind of uninteresting at first. She's kind of just the love interest, but as it goes on, you really do see that she's trying to be the mom of the group because she hasn't had a mom for so long. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and I that's one part I actually didn't like about Katara is she never really got resolution. She even confronted the guy who killed her mom, and it was a good episode, great episode. Like when she just straight up stops the rain, and she's like blood bending him, and blood bending was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Bloodbending is the scariest thing ever.
Yes, it is. It made a great Halloween episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, just Katara. In and of herself, like, I really didn't like that she was still really angry about that by the end of the series. You never really got to see her resolve that, which is realistic, and it's great. It's just, I did want to see a little more resolution, because, like, almost everybody else, you know, got something. Like, you know, Sokka ended up with, Kyoshi,
What was the Kyoshi warrior?
the Kyoshi warrior.
Dang it. Oh, man.
Kasumi. Kasumi?
No, that's not right.
Sanami?
I can't remember. This is terrible.
Suki!
Yeah!
And
It
Suki.
sounds like Saki.
Suki was awesome.
Yeah.
The
Or
Moon
the
Princess-
Vampire Diaries.
The Moon
Stackhouse.
Princess really did not woo me, but I liked how they used it. The moon is a kind and gentle spirit who looks lovingly on all she surveys. And my girlfriend turned to the moon. That's rough, bro. Of course, Zuko's probably my actual favorite character. I joke about the boulder because he's hilarious. But the boulder. But Zuko's probably my favorite character. He has the best development. He's Rufio from Hook. I mean, how do you beat that? And I did like how Katara. You guys heard it?
I did it once. Oh yeah,
Yeah, because we have to do it. So Katara, you know what, Ray?
Actually, I'm not that fond of Katara. I'm just kidding. She's my favorite character.
No. But,
Oh, she's crazy with the blood bending. And
Yeah.
you can blood bend. I can blood bend, bro.
Like,
It's like I will never do again.
one of my actually favorite parts is actually that episode at the end, because it's not Aang that comforts her, It's not
Sokka?
you know, Sokka. It's Zuko, the guy for the past like 34 plus episodes has been trying to kill them. He's the one that comforts Katara after like she confronts him and can't kill him. And I was like, whoa. And then of course that's where all the, you know, Katara X stuff comes for Zuko, but
Do what?
yeah,
No,
like,
I don't think we should go into this.
no, I'm just going over it because it exists and it
I don't think the Avatar would want on.
Ah!
There we go.
Which reminds me,
No!
we do,
I didn't remind.
we do have to go over the terrible,
No, we don't.
awful rendition.
No, we don't.
Yes.
You know why? Because I didn't see it. You know how? Because everyone said it was awful, so I didn't
really
see
is.
it.
It's
is-
bad.
Don't see it, and you don't have to know
Characters
about
are-
how awful it is.
Characters are
Who
wrong,
awful.
story is wrong,
Oh.
everything's mispronounced. It's
Yeah.
wrong.
No,
Your
like
boss
he,
pronounced.
like basically,
Your boss line.
once again, M. Night
Once
Shyamalan,
again.
I mean,
Ami.
Okay.
he's a fine director and all, but he does not know how to keep a story correct. Like, there's so much character development, and he got simple things wrong, like the fact that, oh, the Avatar can't do anything to harm people. No.
What?
Aang was the person who was the pacifist in the story,
Because he's a monk.
because he's a monk, and he was a pacifistic monk. Not be the fact that he was the Avatar is what caused him to have to do these
But the
things.
question was he a monk with spunk?
Yes. Moving on.
That's, I mean, I don't know how you ruin, like, I don't know how you ruin simple characters like they did. They took simple character archetypes and they just threw them out the window. Like, we had Sokka, who's supposed to be the comic relief / the guy who at the end is like...
Well, he's supposed to be the normal person.
Yeah.
I think he's more than comic relief.
Yeah, and I think...
Because he's supposed to be like the normal guy and that we can still do something. He's the reminder that even though that we can't bend, and we
Yeah.
don't do martial arts, when we're not balanced, we can still be people that make a difference.
Yeah.
He really does a good job of that.
Yeah, he does.
And, you know, you have Katara, who's supposed to be the
And he
mom.
flirts with
who's-
all the ladies.
Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
But, like, you take these simple archetypes, and then Aang, who's just supposed to be like a kid, who's supposed to be, you know, just wanting to be a kid, and yet he has to be this adult and follow, you know, what his job as the Avatar is, and you just screw them all up. Like,
Aang was super serious. He didn't want to be a kid. That wasn't
Yeah.
addressed at all. He was just like this stone-faced little
So
old
the
man.
opposite of everything else we said.
Yes, exactly.
and all of them were just stone cold. Like, all of them were adults. Like, every single kid in the series,
Which is
in the
funny 'cause they
movie,
still can't
was
act.
just plain adults.
Which is funny because they still can't act like kids or adults.
Yeah, I know.
Mannequins.
So Ridley Scott should have directed the Avatar movie.
That
And then bending comes out of your chest.
alien bending.
Guardians on motorcycle.
The point lines.
But in all seriousness, like,
All seriousness about the serious characters.
yeah, in all seriousness, that movie was awful. They took the heart and soul of that show and threw it out a window.
I have rarely seen anything gotten so wrong from a series. Like, it's one thing to not...
Or maybe Aragon.
Dragon Balls.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z
That was
Evolution,
bad, too.
Aragon.
Those two were
Aragon.
tied.
I mean, well, even Aragon, they still captured the spirit. It's Fantasy
Transformers.
Universe and he rides a friggin' dragon.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Transformers.
Well, okay, we can just attribute that to Michael Bay.
No.
But, I mean, either way, like, the Avatar movie, like, we've been talking about the character development and how the characters are. And that's really what's at the core of this series, that development. So many episodes are spent revolving around that development. And then you just throw that out the window.
Fuck
That's-
you, plot.
That's like going through Star Wars and adding crappy dialogue, a horrible actor for Anakin,
And lizards!
Oh,
and
oh,
big lizards!
Sounds like something else. Like,
It's
just
a good
like
thing that no
relying-
one ever did that, otherwise I'd be really
Yeah, it's-
angsty.
like
Yeah,
somebody would just rely on CGI
A
to
million
tell the story.
stormtroopers. And...
I'm so glad that George Lucas didn't do that.
Oh, and a dance scene. I really think he should have used a frog.
Yeah.
And then- yeah.
Let's not go there.
You just did.
I'm trying to.
You're terrible
to-
and you should feel bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to salvage what's left of
So
this.
whoever's about to edit this, you will now learn how hard it is to edit.
No, but
We should just pass it off to Paul.
so I mean,
Hey, Paul, can you have this done by tomorrow? Thanks. Okay, bye.
no, but I mean, the movie's just terrible. There's not much else you can say about it. They mispronounce everything. They miss
So
the
it's
entire
horrible.
point of the series.
They missed
It's
the entire-
horrible.
They
It's
missed
horrible.
Horrible. Yeah.
It's horrible.
They missed every single, even the nuances of the stories. Like, the only thing that they got right was the scene, I really believe, is the scene where Zuko saves Aang from the Fire Nation prison.
That's the blue
only,
spirit.
As the blue spirit. That is the only thing they got right.
I liked it when Iroh got pissed.
And even that, like, with the bending, like, they got the bending wrong. And I don't even understand how you get bending wrong. Like, firebenders can't bend unless there's a fire nearby. That's wrong. As long as the sun's up, they have something that they can use from. No, like, firebenders are worthless unless they have a campfire nearby.
Yeah. I remember that. And, like, actually, I watched that movie so early on in my watching of the series that it actually kind of skewed my understanding of, like, firebenders and stuff in the series. And it took several episodes before I realized, wait a second, they're just bending. There's fire out of nowhere. I don't think that's right. Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of shows get wrong. Like, a lot of things, they're really hung up on rules. Like, there has to be rules to bending.
Oh, this has to make sense.
There will be a fire nearby, otherwise people won't understand it. And they say these rules, as opposed to you can come up with rules.
It feels like superhero rules, where like you can't just have any superpower. You have to have a weakness. Like it's the exact same thing as Pyro from X-Men. Like, oh, he can move flames around, but only if there's a flame present.
I never feel like it's really like explained that much.
Yeah.
Like they just see him doing it, and you can show an example of it instead of just saying like, "Oh, these are the rules for his firebending."
Yeah.
Like
the only
I forgot my example.
Like, all bending was based off of the actuality of the elements themselves, and since the sun is fire, firebenders could still bend at night because of the moon, the reflection of the sun off the moon.
Yep.
But their firebending was extremely low in considerable power. But at night, the waterbenders got a boost because the moon was what shaped and the moon's spirit itself was what helped shape and change the ocean and gave the ebb and flow, which is where they gain their power from, is that the push and the pull of the water. And so
it's nice that they didn't have to explain that before, but then you're right. It's just like adding rules for the sake of adding rules.
Now that was my example. Harry Potter. There's magic and there's magic combat, and they talk about magic combat in the second book, but it's mostly bullshit once you get later on in the series. And everyone's like, "Oh, drop your wand! Oh, I win!" Like, it's better if you just skip all the bullshit rules and just show them doing magic, even if some people don't have limited understanding, they'll get it eventually.
yeah.
If you have rules and you go about them, that's cool, but the reader doesn't have to know, the watcher doesn't have to know.
Yeah, and I really think that he tried to bring a more realistic pull to the story, because I think he was, which seems strange because M. Night Shyamalan, The Sixth Sense, things like that. You know, you would think that he would, The Lady in the Water. You would think that he would be able to allow those concepts to come out of a movie, but he didn't. He confined them and he forced them into a story that was supposed to be more streamlined, but in doing so, he actually ruined the entire story itself.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Shouldn't I go, Chris?
Well, I mean, I think that's enough about the movie.
The devil was in the elevator!
I mean, it's and then I mean, I saw Angry Joe talk about it. Like, it's so horrible. Like, there are some movies that are like so horrible. Like, let's take Batman and Robin. Yes, it's a really bad movie, but you can get some camp value.
I think we have an episode for that.
Everybody,
Yeah, we do.
chill, chill. I mean, it's ridiculous. Or like Adam West Batman. No, it's not a good movie when the shark looks rubber, falls off his leg from a spray and explodes.
Actually, sharks are really hard to make.
Still, I mean, but you can still get camp value out of that. And
Yeah.
like this movie, It just sucks the fun and life out of the room.
There's nothing you can make fun of, nothing you can say, oh, that was so ridiculous.
No, it
there was
hurts.
nothing ridiculous. That was the worst part.
Yeah.
There was nothing to laugh at.
And like one of my favorite parts at the end of the first book that was not in the movie is when the water spirit and Aang combine, because he's so at what's happened, the Avatar state kicks in, and then him and the water spirit go and just slaughter the living daylights out of an entire Fire Nation navy.
Water spirit slice.
He sinks entire ships.
That was an awesome episode.
Like, and then you see Fire Nation people like lifeboats picking them up outside of the range of, and Aang's just standing there staring at them until they leave. And that scene was so powerful. No, in the movie it's just gonna be, I'm just gonna raise the water and then push everyone away.
Yep.
Like, they didn't show the fact that just because Aang is a pacifist, like, the Avatar state kicks in and it's, I have to put balance back, no matter what happens. And he just, like, that's one of those things, once again, where you confined the storyline. And maybe it was because he was trying to keep it maybe in, like, a trilogy, and so there wasn't enough time. That may have been a part of it. But if that's the case, you know, there's a lot of things you could have done to help the movie along.
And I mean, that is always going to be a problem when you make a movie from a book or a TV series. You're just not going to have enough time. I mean, you hear nerds like me arguing like...
That's why I think movies should be different, but they should get the characters right.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. Like, I mean, it's one thing to complain, oh, the elves didn't show up at Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings and there was no Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil, yeah, that's...
And that's one thing to say, you just don't have time to include everything. But when you miss the entire point of the series and the entire message that they're trying to convey and the entire draw of the series so grossly, I mean, that's just an offense that
It'd be the same
hurts.
thing. It'd be the same thing as in today's like storyline. You take like Luke Skywalker and totally just like if they made a reboot of it and turned Luke Skywalker into Han Solo. Like if you
Han Solos, I would watch that.
but if you change a character that much from the original story, the coherency of the story doesn't work, because no longer does Aang, have to go from being a irresponsible kid to an adult. He's already an adult in the movie.
Okay, we get it. It's bad. Can we go on to the next point?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we can.
So let's...
I just want to say,
Trying not to touch
the
your
movie
face.
was terrible, but the special effects were cool to watch, and they were really well done. And it actually made me more sad that the movie was so bad, because the special effects were so good.
I really did like to see
It
the
was
water
a visually
bending.
amazing movie that wanted to be, that needed a good movie to go
We
with.
don't know what's next.
Stop touching my husband.
Okay.
Next point.
Okay, so, next point. I can edit this part out because I can't think of the next point.
It would probably
Well, it
be
should
the
be
wrap.
closing thing.
Just the wrap up.
The wrap up.
Okay,
here.
so, I mean, closing thoughts, summaries,
Card games on motorcycles.
card games on motorcycles. I mean, Moblin overall series, thoughts, feelings.
The series is great. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely do so. Not only will you enjoy the series, I think. I mean, if you don't enjoy the series, then I guess, you shouldn't be watching.
You don't have a soul.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you could not like a series that has, Anyway, series is great. You should totally watch it. Toph is the...
Toph!
If there's any reason to watch this series, Toph is just enough. She is fantastic. The voice acting is great. The character development is really what drives the story. I mean, it has Mark Hamill in it. Come on. But, overall, great storyline ideas, great character development, great voice acting. The beginning is a little bit slow, so, unless you're, really don't want to watch the series, I guess you could skip the beginning that has, the setup for all the characters and storyline, and, just not, whatever. That's it.
You do recommend that people watch it?
Oh, yeah. Hardcore. It's a fantastic show.
Hardcore.
Neko, we've kind of...
I hear you're familiar with that area.
We've kind of... You certainly know your way around that area. Neko, we've kind of ignored you until your husband was being touched and rubbed by Ray. What are your overall thoughts of this series from the perspective of somebody who normally doesn't like a whole lot of guy cartoons like this? Kind of is.
Well, I guess the fact that I watched this all the way through versus never watching like Dragon Ball Z or any other like mostly guy watched series, I guess says something about it. Because I usually stay far away from that, and just the fact that I watched it all the way through and didn't get bored of it says something. The characters are, you end up liking them as the story moves on, and it's slow to build, but it's definitely something that is a good watch. So I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Common cold?
He's leaning forward.
Yeah.
In his talking position. That's how the lungs work best.
Yes.
In a slouch.
I just feel like a lot of people out there are probably going to not be initially attracted to it. Definitely overlook that. You're wrong if you feel that way. And I think a lot of the stronger episodes come on at the very end of the series, so you have to stick with it. Like, the final season is just amazing. I mean, there's so many good episodes, characters that come and go really quickly. You have, like, for instance, most of my favorite episodes are in the final season. You have, like, Sokka with his master, you have the blood bending going on, and then obviously the finale is fantastic. And you just have to see it all the way through. Don't get tired if you get bored by an episode or two. It's totally worth watching every single episode.
And I mean, I would echo that. I agree completely. This series is very rewarding to finish if you can stick with it. And I mean, even if cartoons aren't normally your thing, this is really one of the few cartoon series I've seen that takes its audience, its kid audience, its target demographic seriously. I haven't seen it done this well since Batman the Animated Series.
And there's no filler episodes, you need to
Yes!
skip like Naruto.
Yeah, 100 episodes of Did we find Sasuke? Nope, again. And but I mean, it really does take you seriously. Like when Appa is taken and Aang just gets mad, and when they go to that library and it's kind of creepy seeing the owl spirit chase them around. It really does take its audience seriously. The voice actors take their job seriously, as you mentioned. The voice acting is top notch. It's not like X-Men or G.I. Joe where
I think you mean it's top notch.
Nice. But it's no. I mean, seriously though, the voice actors do take their jobs very seriously. It's like Batman the Animated Series again, where they're actually trying to portray real people. It's not like, you know, Cyclops spouting a catchphrase before using his superpower.
When did that happen?
All the time in the old X-Men series, man. Like,
Yeah.
looks like you're all washed up. She was like a water tank and drowns pyro or whatever. And I mean, but it's more like Batman the Animated Series again, which is one of my favorite series of all time. But like
once again, Mark Hamill's involved.
Yes. So. But I mean, they take their job seriously. They take the storyline seriously. They take the characters seriously, even when they're joking around. It's all taken seriously. Enough that, I mean, again, there are some episodes, like when Aang is high off cactus juice and tired, and like he dreams that he fights Fire Lord Ozai and forgets his pants, and he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
And so it's not taken seriously 100% of the time.
Yeah, but I mean, even at that, like, that's something that a kid would dream about. Like, they would dream about, I am going to try and save the world, and I forgot my pants. I'm so embarrassed.
And I absolutely, even if cartoons aren't normally your thing, especially like guy cartoons like this, I would still give this a watch. I would at least try it. This might not be your thing, you might disagree, and that happens. But I would still really recommend this series. It's just top-notch, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
No.
Ray,
All right.
closing thoughts?
You should have been paying attention the entire damn time. But still, if you were, and you're like, I just heard 4.5 guys talk about a show for an hour. Sorry, I love
I'm
You're thinking
half of a guy.
I don't know which half I am.
the best half.
Very hermaphrodite.
No. Serious at the camera. Now, if you said I just watched a bunch of guys talk about a show and tell me all the major points and all the best characters, and I know how it ends, you know how it ends. It's a hero's journey. Why would I even watch it? Why would you even do anything? Your life must suck! It's a good show! Just because you know the elements of something and you know why it's important doesn't mean you don't have to watch it. It's a good show because it will make you a better person. And it enriches your life!
It's true. It's a pretty bold statement.
Thank you.
I agree with that statement.
I have the same statement about to give a mouse a cookie.
On that note, this is the forum. I am the Jester. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Great.
Are they all gone?
It was gonna fuck. And there's this girl, and she's being made fun of a little bit, and it jumps around. You get a little back of the backstory where the girl's being bullied, like the stupid boy that's never wakes up, that's always in a dream, though they haven't specifically said it in the show, but for some reason it's in the description. I thought I was clever for noticing it. I noticed it.